Hello everyone, this is a quick recording of a demonstration of how to consider impairment, given that it was not recorded during class time. So the example that we gave in the spreadsheet, we have a building, our cost is $5 million. We've had it for a few years, and our accumulated depreciation is $1 million, nice round numbers. So that makes our carrying or book value $4 million. Carrying book value refers to original cost minus accumulated depreciation. So something's happened. We've had a change of use. It's been abandoned. We've had to use it in some other way. And so it triggers a test for impairment. When we do that, we have to look at what we're going to use it for, the new use. In this case, we're going to have some future cash flows based on that use. Another option may be that it's going to be sold, and that would be our only future cash flow. But in this case, we're going to say lease it out to somebody else for the next 10 years for $350,000 per year. So our total cash flows over that 10 years, $3.5 million. So to test for recoverability, the first step of our two-step test for our impairment is to see if it's recoverable. And recoverable means that our future cash flows are greater than our carrying book value. So if this is less than, it's not recoverable, and that means it's impaired. So we compared it to the book value, and we found that it's lower, so that means it's impaired. It's not recoverable. If it had been higher than $4 million, then we would have been done. Now that we determine impairment, we cannot use that $3.5 million. Our impairment loss is not $500,000, the difference between these two. Now we go back to the future cash flows, and we apply the present value using the rate that would be given a normal interest rate for the company. I'm going to say that it was 8% in this example for 10 years at $350,000 per payment each year. Okay? That's going to give us a present value of $2.3 million. We compare that to our carrying book value, $4 million. The difference is 1.6. That would be our loss. So the loss is calculated using present value. The recoverability is used without considering present value. Once we know that amount of that loss, our journal entry would debit loss and credit asset. All right. Now, looking at loan impairment, much easier to have. You don't have two steps. You don't have to worry about the recoverability. As soon as you know there's a change in the terms of the loan, because the law says you can't make it worse, it must be better. It must be an impairment to the lender. So that's how we're looking at it, is from the lender side right now. So the lender has a loan that they have on their books as loan receivable $300,000. The customer borrower has not paid for a few months, and so they've accrued extra interest on top of the loan amount of $15,000. So the total amount on our balance sheet for this loan is $315,000. The customer is having financial difficulties, so we agree to new terms. By definition, that means it's impaired. So it's just a matter of how much. So our new payment, when we negotiate this, is $2,500 a month for the next 10 years. We need to know what the present value of that $2,500 per month for the next 10 years is. And to do that, we use this formula, present value, using the original loan amount, which wasn't given, but we'll assume it was 6%. That was the loan amount on the original loan. Always use that when we're calculating the present value of the future cash flows for an impaired loan for 120 periods or 10 years. Payment is $2,500. That gets us $225,184. Our loss then is the difference between the $315. Make sure you include the accrued interest, and the $225. or 89,816 debit, loss, credit, note receivable. So that is how the bank would look at that, review that, and record the loss. All right, now, in more rare cases, loan receivable impairments are fairly common, but in rare cases, the GAAP does allow the idea of changing your loan payable this time as a borrower, to fair value. Only if you agree to do fair value for all of your payables and receivables. So this company does that, and so as a borrower, they're looking at the fair value of their loan payable. They owe $250,000. The present value of the future cash flows. All right, we're going to use the market rate, not the original loan rate, but the market rate. What is the market rate currently when we're evaluating a loan payable? So that's a little different than a loan receivable. This is a situation where it will not be the same on both sides. The receivable and payable will be handled differently. So we're going to use the market rate here, present value of future cash flows. The payment is $1,000 per month for 20 years. Okay, so we'd have to have a situation where we can figure out what the future payment is. It may be that the payment hasn't changed, just the market rate has. Either way, we're going to come up with a new value, and that new value is going to be the present value using the market rate, okay, of the future payments of $1,000 over the number of periods remaining, okay? And that's going to be 240 in this case. You can see the formula, how it's worked out. We get the 128,982, and so we would actually have a gain of the difference between these two. We would debit the loan payable and credit gain. So the loan payable will go down because its fair value is lower. All right. If you go with the commitment that you're going to adjust the fair value, you can't do it only when it benefits you. Only when it's a gain. You have to, if things have changed the next year, you have to go the other direction. Okay. So maybe the other direction. It could be that you could have a loss, but in this case it was a gain. Therefore, we debit the loan payable and credit gain.